2 months ago I set up this little reef tank. It's turned into quite a nice established reef. I've actually added heaps and heaps of new corals in here. So it's a 19 litre tank. It's very easy for it to get crowded quickly. That's the only issue with it, I guess. And with such a small water volume, it's easy for things to go wrong and go wrong quick. That's the thing with the small nano tanks, is it can be quite difficult to maintain, a perfect water parameter 24/7. Now, I thought I'd show you guys my maintenance run, what I do to maintain this little reef tank, and I also wanted to give you guys an update on what's going on, what's in here, and the plans for the future. Now, as you can see, if you don't clean it, twice a week, it gets a huge amount of algae. Since setting it up, I've added quite a few different varieties of coral. I've got a Queensland hammer coral here, absolutely stunning. I've got a leather in the back. I've got these Kenya tree leathers as well. I've got some mushrooms, and I've got some small anemones in here as well. As for the livestock, I've got Nemo here, very classic name. Me and my girlfriend absolutely love him. He's super cute. We've got a hermit crab. So we've got the clownfish with hermit crab, we've got a snail, and we have somewhere in here a Bristol starfish. Didn't even realise they were a starfish. They look very strange, but they are little starfish, and completely reef safe. Fantastic for your reef tank. We did want to add some more fish into this, but I think we're going to wait to get a bigger tank, as it's filling up very quickly with coral, and probably shouldn't add too many fish into a tank of this size. It's already maxing out as is. So I try and do water changes in this tank every 2 to 5 days. Somewhere between a 20 and a 50% water change. I also dose this continuum ocean snow every 2 to 3 days. It's like 0.5 of a milliliter. It's a very small amount. I think it's about 10 drops with the dropper. So I dose that every 2 to 3 days. I'm going to have to start dosing it every couple days now because of the amount of coral in here. And that's basically all your essential elements, like it's got proteins and stuff for coral, like a coral food. It's also got magnesium and calcium and stuff there, a few corals as well. As for lighting, I just have this, I think it's a Dimax reef light on here at the moment, and filtration is very simple. I've just got a kind of a internal filter here. It goes through a bunch of barriers with chemical filtration like carbon. It goes through ceramic balls, some sponges, some floss, and then back out through the pump. And it's a very simple setup, so I reckon it needs a clean. So I'll show you guys how I do that. So you can see just how dirty this tank is. It's been left a little bit too long. So I usually just take the lid off, wash this with some fresh water. You get a lot of salt build up under here. The next thing I like to do is I like to start cleaning out my sponges. That's like the first thing I do. And I'll show you guys why in just a moment, but we'll take out our filter floss first. You can see that's dirty as. You can clean this every day if you want, as much as you want. That's probably the best thing to do. If not, don't leave it more than a week. And there's a sponge in here as well, which can be tricky to get out, but you want to be cleaning this often too. Pull that spongy out of there. There's a few other things in the back here. They can be tricky to get out, but these really just don't need cleaning. I check them every so often to see if the bag's getting a bit clogged. So with the carbon, I don't do much really. I just give it a very gentle, rinse out. Just make sure there's no build up happening within this bag here. With the floss, I really like to just blast it, just get as much out as I can, squeeze it in all different directions, and just try and get your floss as clean as possible. You can replace this stuff every couple weeks if you want, like that. Now the reason why I've been telling you guys that I clean my sponges first is because this is what I use to scrub the algae on my tank. It's a bit weird, I don't actually have an algae scrubber yet, I do need to get one, so this is what I use to scrub the algae on the glass. Sponge, this again, just rinse this out as best as you can, blast it with a hose, do whatever you want, clean it as much as you want. This is just to remove the small particles. But yeah, I like to wash this out every week. Alright, so the next thing I like to do is I like to absolutely turn off everything. So I usually turn off, you know, my heater, my power pump there, and the flow makers so that there's, you know, nothing going to get unsubmerged when I drop my water level. The heater's not going to burn itself out when the water drops, and you know, it's not stuff just blowing around all over the place. Under this little cupboard, I have this tiny little hose, barely reaches to the sink. You've got to be careful, but this is how you start it. Sometimes you get a mouthful of salt water, it's pretty rude. Just so you guys know, it's okay to, you know, drain your tank past your corals. As long as you're keeping your corals damp, the corals should be fine. So I get my floss out, nothing crazy, and I like to actually go around the top rim first because I get a salt build up around here, and it can be a bit of a hard thing to get off at times. It's hard to get everywhere. I try not to touch the corals because it makes them a bit cranky, but you have to, you really do, to actually get it fully clean. Now my leather coral at the back here actually has, it's on a rock, so I tend to move him every time I clean, which sucks for him, but he doesn't seem to mind too much. It's the only way to actually clean the algae on the glass behind it because it's such a big coral for this little tank. So now what I like to do is I grab a fork and I like to churn up the sand a little bit just because of the algae. I can now wash out the sponge that I use to clean the glass because that's full of algae, and then I'm going to go ahead and fill up the tank. So it can be tricky to fill up, but kind of got the hang of it now, so it's not too bad. While I'm filling this up, I actually forgot to tell you guys, I have a green stony acro coral in there as well. It's just hiding at the back and it doesn't really get seen, so I do forget about it from time to time, but he is still in there. I know this sounds crazy, but if it's been a long time like this, I'll get a siphon and just do a little bit more of a water change, just to suck out any of the floating algae. You know, if there's any bigger pieces stuck on the leathers or anything like that, I do like to go and vacuum that all off. So as you can see, our tank is looking a lot cleaner. We've made a bit of a mess, but it is looking a lot better. I'm having some struggles, I guess, with my leather coral falling and touching the hammer, but I've been trying to train it to fall in this direction. It obviously doesn't want to, but I'm trying to stop the leather from touching the hammer because the hammer seems to back off, the leather gets, you know, burnt, and as you can see it just comes straight back around, I think just because of how the flow works in this tank. But yeah, it is looking good. And now you basically just want to wait, you know, for the algae and all the particles to get sucked up into your filter, and then as soon as this is all clear, I like to then go again. It usually takes, you know, 20-30 minutes for it to clear, sometimes up to an hour, depending on how bad it is. And once that's cleared, shouldn't take much time at all, then I'll go back in my filter a second time, clean out the sponge, and then you should be sweet and your tank should be really good for a while. So the last kind of final thing I like to do, you can see that's already cleared up quite a lot, is I like to get a paper towel or whatever with some fresh water on it, just after I've cleaned the tank, and go around and wipe off all the salt residue, and then I'll go back over with, you know, a couple dry pieces and really scrub the you know, little water droplets off. Yeah, so that's basically how I like to do my maintenance run if I leave it a good 5 days. I now know that I should not be leaving it that long because I hate the algae build-up, drives me bananas. I like to clean the tank every 2 to 3 days, that's usually what I do. But that's if I leave it a long time, say go away, something like that, or I get busy, I'll leave it 5, 6, 7 days and then I'll do a big scrub. Yeah, it takes a little bit for the corals to come back out and feel comfortable again. Because you've been fluffing around there, hands have been touching them, they don't really like that. It's hard with a small tank to avoid it, but it is what it is. But it doesn't take them too long, they'll be out in the next half an hour, and then I'll chuck some of this ocean snow in there, and happy days. This is a super duper simple reef tank, it doesn't really get any simpler than that. There's no protein skimmer, there's no real wave makers, there's no dosing pumps, there's no special lighting. It's literally the simplest tank you can get. It's basically, a bit of sponge with some chemical filtration, a couple of dosing every couple of days, some small water changes and some feeding. It's simple, it's easy, it's beautiful, and I absolutely fucking love it. Alright, so I think it's been maybe 40 minutes, 35 minutes. The tank is crystal clear, looking fantastic. The corals have come out. The leather at the back hasn't put its polyps out yet. It has beautiful green polyps, but I bet you it will as soon as either the lights go off or tomorrow morning the lights come on, or when I put the coral food in. I guess a lot of controversy surrounding stuff like this and how to do it and whatever, but this is just how I do it and what works for me. Take off the lid, and I usually just suck up, a little bit like that. And I go right where the flow is, and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The rest goes back in the bottle. Don't touch anything else, just like that. They say not to put it back in the bottle, but there's no way it could be contaminated. I haven't touched anything. And then I go straight over the tap with some clean water and clean out the pipette. And then I have a fridge magnet calendar, and I've written what days to feed the coral. I think it's every 3 days. I probably could change it to every 2 days. Everything in here grows huge, so I'm going to need an upgrade tank shortly. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. That's my little Nano Reef tank. It's going fantastic. That's how I do my maintenance. It's very easy, straightforward. And honestly, I don't get why more people don't keep saltwater tanks. They're so easy. I think there's a lot of big confusion surrounding it, of how you have to do it or how it can be done. And I'm sure, if you do go down the route of doing expensive setup, that you're never going to have any issues, and it's going to be smooth sailing, and you're going to be able to keep the most exotic, beautiful corals like SBS and whatever. But if you guys want to have a simple reef tank with the corals I have here, beautiful corals, if I turn the blue light on, you can just sit here and be stunned. And everyone that walks through this door loves the coral, loves the tank, thinks it's awesome, and it's so easy. It might take some tampering with every couple of days, but to be honest, you could do that as part of doing your dishes. Finish the dishes and then add an extra 2 minutes, and you've fed your coral, you've fed your fish, you've done a water change, you've scrubbed your glass. So for me, it's perfect. It's a no-brainer.